Greetings, Remo.
Hi. Hi, my love.
It's been too long since we last did this.
Yeah.
I'm deeply grateful and honored to be talking to you again like this. Thank you for your time and thank you for your work, the work that you do. It's really admirable.
Thank you. Thanks for saying and for honouring it and me and for having me on. I'm also really grateful to be here, remembering our first, I think it was the first ever podcast we did for the NPNs, wasn't it? Our conversation.
Absolutely.
So yeah, just feeling into that. Wow, the journey we've been on from then to now.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
come a full circle in some sense.
We both finished our masters since then, haven't we? As well.
Yeah,
Wow.
lots of
Deepened
work.
in our parenting journey.
Mm,
Haven't we? Evolved as parents together, small children growing up.
yeah. There's a lot to be proud of. There's a lot of, I guess, just reconnecting with each other and a lot to say and share and also welcome to any and all of the listeners who are going to be listening to this podcast sometime in the future. Tonight's subject with Rainbow is her freshly released book on motherhood named Motherhood Myths.
Yeah,
And
Motherhood Myths, a mini guide to deconditioning matrescence. Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you.
So, what does it feel like now to be officially a writer and a publisher?
I love it. I love it. Like, before we press record, we were talking about this concept of sovereign mother. This is a new phrase that I'm coining, and it has elements of parenting models like conscious parenting, gentle parenting. It also brings in this more transpersonal orientation where we realize that it's not just about us and our kids. This is about multi-generational healing. This is about seeding the new earth. And in order to do that, we have to be sovereign in ourselves. And in this process of writing the book, all these narratives were coming up like, how to do it properly. And did I need to find a publisher? And am I an imposter doing this? And yeah, like, do I need to do it through a medium? And there are all these subscription services now, isn't there? Because people are becoming more sovereign, independent, autonomous in their own marketing. And so I've just took great joy in being the complete creator, owner, marketer, creative artist, director in this process. And even the person who endorsed it, Coco Oya, she's a friend of mine, a sister in the community, and she asked me, because she honors my work as well and sees me, and she asked me to endorse her book. So I was privileged to get to read her book, Digging for Mother's Bones, and she is being published by a proper publishing house. And so I just approached her humbly and asked, sister to sister, no bureaucracy, no professionalism, just sister to sister, would you do me the honour of endorsing my book too? And she did. And then she sent me these beautiful voice notes. And because we're both so deeply expressive with how we are in our being, some people might call us spiritual women, but I'm saying we're evolving. We're embracing our evolution, our embodied evolution. Anyway, she sent me these voice notes, and just her reaction to it, listening to it, I was overwhelmed. It took me a couple of days before I could actually articulate a response. So, yeah, to know that I've birthed something out of my own experience and research that's serving somebody like her to such a depth, and then it's spreading its way out now, and the feedback I'm getting, I've done it all on my own, all of it on my own, sovereign. So it feels really good. And there's no, like, Amazon's not getting a cut of the money, and I've not had to outsource anything and pay anybody. It's just feels so beautiful. So that's how it's been. And I've really enjoyed creating reels about it as well. Like, I'm starting to enjoy that, becoming a digital creator. So yeah, I'm on with it already. My next book is called Single, Sovereign, Spiritual Mother. And this is a discourse that goes a bit deeper about being this archetype in this day and age, what it means, and how we can really empower ourselves when we're aware of all these narratives, which is what I went into in my first book, this one, Motherhood Myths, what we're going to talk about today. When we're aware of all of that, what do we do with it and how do we change in order to get out from the stigma and in order to be the change, to be this different archetype? Because we haven't got this empowered, sovereign, spiritual mother archetype in our collective. She's not there. We've got the overwhelmed mother, the medicated mother, the shadow aspects of the mother, the Medusa mother who kills her own kids because she's so overwhelmed. And then we've got these idealized, perfect mother archetypes, and it just drives unconscious behavior. It's hard. So this new archetype needs to be born so that we can imagine it. So it's a new template of mothering that I'm trying to weave into the collective. So this next book is going to be, it's going to be all about that. And it's going to also speak to how I personally work with patriarchal narratives in my ex and his lack of awareness of my values is, an unconscious person. He's not got a spiritual path. He's not done any personal development, doesn't value any of that. So, the challenge in is seeing him as a teacher and coming back to unconditional love because I'm bound to him. And, the way I tackle it, the way I deal with it, often I'm very proud that I apply my spirituality in certain ways. Like even sometimes I'll sing mantras to Black Tara to help me alchemize the rage I feel towards him into love. And this can then transform situations without us needing to even have an argument or a discussion. So magical things like that. So I want to give a discourse in this book around that I think can be really supportive because I don't know if you know, but there are 15% of the families in the UK are single parent families, and 99% of them single parent families are headed by women. So there's 99% of the families in the UK are single mothers, and 50% of those women don't actually get any financial support from the child's fathers. So there's this lack of support, and often you see women having to get to really dire situations before any authority will step in. Often a woman has to have been physically abused before people step in, and there's just so much that gets in the way, so much that women are dealing with on their own in single mothering situations because of these unique systemic issues. And so I come at this not looking for the system to help me because I know that it can't. I look at it, how can I liberate myself? How can I apply higher wisdom and create and draw in more support around myself so that I can be empowered, so that I can be sovereign? And so I make it a process of liberation in my own life for mine and Frankel's well-being, but also it's this part of my body, the sattva vow, almost like, that Buddhist concept of it being about the collective really. Like whatever I do impacts the collective. So if I can work with him on this spiritual level and transform and heal these deep rooted wounds in our collective on a micro level, then it's also going to have an impact on a macro level as well. So yeah, this idea of being an author feels very, very good. It feels like activism, and I feel like it's time for me to share as well. Like I've just come off this metaphysical mentoring session with Padma Candro Victoria Sinclair, who's my teacher and guide. She's helping me explore my multidimensional nature. So we're looking at the Vedic astronomy and my astronomy. And at the moment, I've just landed into a year of sun in the Mayan astronomy. And there's a lot of alignment in like Jupiter at 6 minutes past 12 today. Jupiter went Gemini in my house of relationships, which is all about relating and communication. So it's interesting that I'm now doing a podcast communicating about my work in a way with lots of people relating about my work. And it's my year of the sun, so it's my year to be seen and to shine and to come out with my gifts, which is all in alignment with I've finished the masters, and I'm ripening. I've sat with that. I've wrote the book. I've submitted my article. Now I'm in the PhD next phase. So Dr. Rainbow Goddess is coming out to play now. And literally on my birthday, when we went into the Mayan year of the sun, literally on my birthday, I did a concert where I shared and related stories from my own healing journey and then my songs, which I've never done before and was a very big edge for me. So I'm literally, we're only a month in already to this year, and so much is already happening that's in alignment. So it's a very exciting time. So it's not just me initiating this. This is a part of my multi-dimensional purpose on earth, and it's all coming into alignment around my maturation of Rahu. And Rahu is like this bodiless, immortal snake, just a head of a snake that can't be satiated, that's riding around in the cosmos. So at the moment, that's been in my house of relationships, and it's just matured because I'm in my 42nd year. So it's just matured, which means I have this grace now and less intensity. And, this like, instead of this like not good enoughness and needing, it's like this self assuredness now, coming through with all these transmissions. So it's literally a multi-dimensional process. This writing these books, it's a multi-dimensional process that's like a bridge between multidisciplines in my own life as well. So my own personal story, matrescence, and what I went through, my own academic journey and being situated in that at the right time, and then my own spiritual learnings and ripenings as a soul with a purpose at this time. All these things. It's very profound. It's very profound and exciting, and like, yeah, I'm really loving it. I'm really loving it, and I'm ready. And even in my human design, I'm a hermit heretic. So I spend a lot of time in the cave, either doing my own initiations or learning and being initiated. So in those three realms, like what I've just said, and then there's a time for teaching. So like the hermit card on the tarot, there's the hermit coming out of the cave with the light to bring the light of awareness, discernment, the light of truth. And that's what I feel like I'm in this phase of at the moment. This year is me coming out with the light to bring all of this. So yeah, it's a very incredible time, a very empowering time. And I'm going to be speaking about my research at conferences as well this year. And yeah, just seeding new ways of working with mothers that can start to heal this systemic neglect. And then beyond, bringing in the spirituality deeper into the communal weaving and making it more about intergenerational village. So yeah, it's riding this beautiful rainbow wave of grace and loving it. Yeah.
It's been really beautiful to see you blossoming this year, really, really blossoming, and I was again honored to hear you on the concert, the online concert you offered, and as well as on the Eurotas conference in Oxford. And I think you have a really powerful voice, not just emotionally captivating, but also there's this call or even demand for presence in it. It's kind of shattering and piercing in a powerful way. Yeah, I've been honored to watch you from the sidelines, I guess. So keep on shining, sister. And there's so many points to start off this kind of podcast slash interview. But I guess let's come to your initiations and how this book was started. What prompted you to start this book? And you speak of motherhood, which I really liked and would like to bring to to many friends who are mothers and are struggling. Even my own partner, this dichotomy of motherhood as an institution or as a kind of a responsibility or a given even, and given by the society and our cultural conditioning. And on the other side, motherhood as a rite of passage, as initiation, as a deeply transformative and formative, I guess, period for women. So would you take us through that journey or that point in your story?
Yeah. So just to put it out there, this term motherhood within matricentric feminism literature refers to the institution of motherhood, which is a patriarchal construct. And that is the thing which is ridden with the myths that we all get brought up with, right? And then motherhood itself as a word is culturally, in the general public and vernacular discourse. Gosh, that sounded so academic. Sorry. In everyday language, motherhood is an umbrella term for so many things. And we think motherhood is the journey of raising the kids. Motherhood is the process that women go through when they go from being a woman to being a mum. And then the journey they have in the family dynamic, that is motherhood. Working is, and having to do the kids when you come home, that's motherhood, right? So we have this umbrella term of motherhood for all these things. But within the discourse of matricentric feminism, we see actually there's different fragments embroiled in this. So motherhood is referring to the institution of motherhood, this negative thing in our cultural collective psyche that shapes everything. And then matrescence is the woman's own journey from being a woman to being a mother. So this is a epoch of evolution, hardship, challenge, re-identification, breaking down, breaking through. And that's her journey. And depending on her orientation, she might go really deep into it. If she's introspective, intuitive, maybe she categorizes herself as spiritual but not religious, and she might do things like shadow work, and all this stuff comes a part of her process because she's naming what's coming up. And so matrescence can be really, really deep, but I think for a lot of mothers, because we're not culturally aware of it, matrescence is something they don't really notice. And then because we've got these pathological perspectives or medical perspectives around suffering, emotional suffering, like we say that women who are overly or judged as overly emotional, having a hard time emotionally during matrescence, are postnatally depressed. So we pathologise this epoch. And then the other part of motherhood within this umbrella term is mothering. So we've done motherhood as in the institution of motherhood, but matrescence as in motherhood as in the journey that woman to mother goes on, and that own, everything it stirs and everything it brings up. Like this is like going from child to adult. It's this massive hormonal shift, but not just hormonal, cultural, social, societal. Like there's so much in it, this re-identification. But adolescence stops when we become an adult. Matrescence doesn't. It keeps evolving and changing as our child's development alters and changes and evolves. So, and then we've got mothering. So motherhood, mothering as in all of the work that it takes to do mothering. And it's not just mothers that do this. Fathers do mothering. Grandmas do mothering. It's like the mother work, right? The domesticity, the parenting, the guidance, the teaching, the organisation, the bits of research that you do to support your child's development, and all of that kind of stuff. So there's mothering as well. So when you separate it out, like motherhood isn't just motherhood. Motherhood is the institution of motherhood. It's matrescence and it's mothering and all the mother work as well. So there's those three that we want to start to understand as separate constructs now within this umbrella term of motherhood. And then we can start to see how each impacts the other. So my own journey, I started in this flat that I was in. I'd been splitting up with my ex. It was lockdown. My baby was 8 weeks old when we went into lockdown, and I moved out of his house and we went into this temporary accommodation, and we was in there for 4 months, from when he was 10 months to when he was 14 months. No, anyway. We was there for his first birthday and his first Christmas, and we moved in this new house in February, where we've been now for 4 years. But while we was in that flat, you can imagine, like, after a 3-day traumatic birth, the fallout of it, then lockdown, a brand new baby, it was all too much. This patriarchal farmer, isolated on this farm, next door his dad lived there, and I was isolated. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone in the area. My family lived in another county, and lockdown happened, so I couldn't even be with my mum and my grandma. And so our relationship crumbled, and then I ended up in this flat, rehoused through social services. And it was the darkest time, the heaviest time of my entire life. And I've had some gnarly initiations and deep depressive episodes, feeling like my mind's cracking, like literally, hearing voices. And made it through. But that, yeah, was a really, really hard time. And I started self-harming, and I was trying to lean into spiritual practice because I was doing the first year of my master's at the same time. And one of the modules, the Learning Through Integrative Practice module, set out this framework where you journeyed with 5 different areas with 5 different practices, and then you would reflect on them. And I chose to do shamanic journeys to connect with my ancestors. I chose to do yoga, this course that I got from, what's her name? Kristen Vietten. I can't remember her first name, but she's a researcher. She worked for that institute that works in America. You know, where they do the overview effect research. She was at the Eurotas conference as well. She did a presentation on imagination. Do you remember her name? I think it is Kristen Vierton. Anyway, she did a course of yoga and some videos on mindfulness. And I was also doing a lot of yoga nidra. And then I was working with a somatic experiencing therapist as well in the body to release. And I was also doing something else. I can't remember the fifth one. So I had this framework, right, of practice, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work. So my first revelation was like, hang on, this should be working. If I'm doing this, it should be working. But it wasn't. And then I was so sleep deprived. So that's when I started to think about, spirituality, and because I was reading literature around these practices and they were saying they did all this, but then it wasn't relative to my situation. Nowhere was it talking about how this applies to motherhood. And then I was looking at sleep deprivation and advice, and it was just saying you've got to go to sleep at the same time, get up at the same time, do good sleep hygiene. Like, it wasn't relevant to my situation. My baby was needing feeding and nurturing every hour in the night, nearly for 2 years. And yeah, had this health visitor. She couldn't understand me. She was coming up with this pathological perspective. So I felt like she was just this weird, like, automaton from the institution, like an alien invader in my flat, that she just had to tick a box and do her work, and I'd just like appease something, and that was weird. And I was just so vulnerable, I don't know. It was just a really, really hard time. And so when I started hitting myself, I just started to think, what's going on? How hard must it actually be if I'm feeling like this, if I'm doing this to myself? And part of it was that I was punishing myself, right, for not being perfect. And I had a spiritual friend at the time who lived in Lancashire, and her son was a bit older than mine, and she managed to just do a lot more. But she had a partner, a really supportive spiritual partner, whose dad paid for the mortgage. I was doing it all on my own in lockdown, gone through a traumatic birth. Like, her birth wasn't traumatic. So there are all these factors, but I felt so ashamed, like I couldn't say to her how hard I was finding it to maintain breastfeeding. So I'd project out of my mind that all these spiritual mums that I knew were like these earth goddess mothers. And I was just this wreck that was so incapable of even applying meditation in the right way to be an acceptable person, an acceptable mother. So I was punishing myself, but I also wanted out of my skin. And I remember once going and staying over at a friend's, and the mattress was so lumpy, and I'd forgotten my earplugs. And at one point in the night, I was so like wrecked with sleep deprivation. I was imagining cutting myself out of my skin. Like, I wanted a knife so that I could slice my skin off, peel my skin off. And I was imagining peeling my skin off. And I'd have these very violent thoughts about obliteration, really extreme violent thoughts. But it was because my nervous system was just wanting to get out of this situation that was killing me. Like, this baby's demands and all of the trauma, the lack of holding, no one competent to go to. Like, the only thing I could do was I rang the breast helpline support once, and they weren't even nurturing. And I was telling him how I was feeling, and it was just like, that stigma towards somebody that's really in an emotional state, like, oh, you see memes about it. Oh, do you feel like you want to kill yourself now, do you? Oh, just see if the doctor's got an appointment. Like that. It was like that. So there wasn't even anywhere I could turn to. So yeah, I'm in this situation, and I'm like, having these feelings, and I'm on my knees. I remember once screaming at the sky, and this is in the book, like, who's responsible for me? Like, I was questioning that. Like, it just didn't feel right that I had to do all this on my own, and it didn't feel self-indulgent. And I wasn't really just being sorry for myself. Actually, I was trying to implode because it was too much for one human being. It was too much. And then this one night, like, I'd get up and I'd go in and get him on the breast, and I'd sing these songs that I'd written for him. And they tainted now. When I was pregnant and I was writing them songs, and when he was just arrived and the novelty was still there, before it kicked in, like after like 6 months of sleep deprivation, these songs were sacred. and beautiful and like idyllic experiences, but they're all tainted now. And even one of them sang to Frankel not so long ago, and he went into a process. Like, that's not my song. Why would you sing them words when it's not even my song? Like, it came out of nowhere. I had no idea, but it was like he was processing as well. Like, all of the rough edges of what happened sometimes in the night when I couldn't be compassionate and I couldn't just sing them songs when the dark mother came in the night. Anyway, this one night I was sat and I was singing the songs and I was in this space of just complete overwhelm and wipeout. And the bed, what I was sat on, it was at a certain level where I had to keep my knee up. So my knee would wobble and my arm would wobble, and like all this tension in my body, just trying to keep this baby in position so that they'd fall asleep and go back to bed again. And that's when I felt them. These hands on me, on my back, on my shoulders and on my arms. And it was my ancestors, all the other mothers that know what it's like to bring the endurance. And I realised then, like, because my mum would say sometimes, why don't you bring him here? I'll have him overnight. But I didn't want to be separated from my baby. Just wanted to be able to mother him. I had no resources. Couldn't endure it. I couldn't endure it. My nervous system and my spirit couldn't endure it because I didn't have the network. And that's when I realised, that's when I had the revelation. It doesn't take a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a mother. Or rather, we don't need a village to raise a child, but we need a village to raise a mother. That's it. That's it. And then after that, I went on this crusade. Felt it like this rampage. And I flipped from wanting to be a psychedelic researcher to wanting to be a matricentric feminist. And I remember talking to a friend and saying the next wave of feminism should be about mothers. And then I think in my third year, I came across Andrea O'Reilly, the godmother of matricentric feminism, who'd invented this term and has done this whole body of work. And that's when all of the revelations started to make sense. This education about the institution of motherhood and what it does to matrescence when it's also laden with 100% of mothering and mother work on top of one woman. And then you factor in the spiritual awareness, the evolutionary awareness, the propensity towards healing, and the ideology around that. We have these criticisms, don't we, about transpersonal psychology? Like, there's this narrative that, oh yeah, if you just keep doing the healing, then you'll just fix everything. Like, actually, no, it's very individualistic. That you can't do that. It's communal. We're one body. And so then that's when I came up with this mycelium network, or rather, should I say, Mother Mushroom gave it to me as a really easy way to understand what's going on here. And so what's happening in the West, especially with single spiritual but not religious mothers, is they haven't got the mycelium. And now the trees in the ecosystem need the mycelium because the mycelium works to bring nourishment, information, water to the trees. And the trees communicate with the mycelium and send out cues, instructions. So the mycelium help the mother trees raise the saplings. And without the spiritual network, the quality of support that the mycelium provides the trees, the mothers become like a tree that's outside of the ecosystem. So how is she going to thrive if she's not plugged in? And I think this is where we need to get to now with our understanding. There is no individual. There is no individual. It doesn't exist. There is no individual. And this individualistic way of living, is fundamentally killing us. It's killing us. And what it's doing to motherhood specifically, I think it's just perpetuating all of these issues that we're seeing. And so I argue if we could hold mothers from pregnancy through early infancy, and then hold the fathers, and then hold the community around that mother and child at the epicenter, just one generation, and we'd be living in the new earth template. It feels like quite a radical thing to say, but nonetheless, it feels true for me and all of the mothers I speak to.
Thank you
So
for
yeah,
sharing that.
now
That's a
I'm just on a
powerful
mission now.
moment.
Thanks. Yeah,
Preach
yeah.
on.
So yeah, that's it. I'm on a mission. On a mission. In my own life, I'm weaving that community and sovereignty in my professionalism and education role, and giving this information to people within sacred containers. I'm offering bespoke packages to mothers who want to become more sovereign, also working with plant medicines and protocols, and then with these books, and then my website's under construction. And I want to do a lot of, special little courses that just fit into your pocket, because motherhood, it's hard to squeeze these things in. And often when we join these groups and communities, again, they're not mother centered. So they don't realize that you need to be really dynamic to your child's needs, and you need shorter things that can just fit in here and there, and to know that that's
Yeah,
good. That's a
yeah.
good way to do it. So, yeah, we did try and launch an online community for mothers last year, but it's not the right time. It's not the right time. So, yeah, we'll see what goes on in the online space. But my dream is, to have a retreat space where mothers can come in early infancy with their babies while they're breastfeeding and process birth trauma through working with psychedelic therapy in a ceremonial space on the Wild Rainbow Lodge. That's the dream. That's where I want to head, and be a refuge, for single mums who've gone through really hard times. Maybe have 3 month stayovers where we sponsor families and women to really help them be sovereign, and just bring this empowerment template. So like, oh, let's just help you carry on being a victim, give you drugs and keep you a victim. Like, no, let's bring you in, hold you, help you do your healing, and then help you get out there into the world to then bring your gifts to the community and serve. So yeah, let's see, let's go.
It's not so different from my dream. And even the term sovereign, something I have talked a few times on this podcast, and I feel drawn to is the creator archetype, which you also mentioned, which is quite similar to my vision and understanding of the next, let's say, evolutionary leap we are taking, stepping into that role. And that's something that I would like to see overall in the world as well, or more of in the world, is self agency and these autonomous creators, people, consciously directing the development of themselves and the society, of course, and perhaps on a deeper level evolution as well. But I'd like to return to, and something that rung for me is this individualism and isolation. This the next post I'm also working on really touches that subject as well, that, we can't really develop, or it's not real development, this kind of individualistic spirituality. We really develop and anchor these changes and the healing and this new level of integrity through relations, through relationships. And of course, like you shared, the ancestral experience you had, very powerful and life-changing. That also is relational, isn't about us waking up with new powers or just waking up with new knowledge. It's us relating to something higher, something deeper, something wider, something other than us, which is also us. But there's, even when it's transpersonal in kind of technical sense of the term, even when it's us relating to a higher power, whether that's God or some God or some spirit or some spiritual force, even that is a relation. So that's something that's, it's also very beautiful that it's coming out through your journey as well, because this is something that I've been thinking about in the last years, or kind of coming to understand that, there is no, individual spirituality. There is, in a sense, that we develop our faith, we develop our beliefs, and this sovereignty, like you said, authenticity and responsibility and this being that we carry into the world, but it doesn't, just kind of, I don't know, emanate from within without any, real friction within relations, within life, and so that's I guess the first myth.
Yeah, I think if we borrow from Buddhism and this concept of Sangha in Sanskrit, this word Sangha is spiritual community. So in Buddhism, we have the Dharma, which is the path, we have the Sangha, which is the community, and we have the Buddha, which is the enlightened teacher, right? So you can have the practice and the teacher, whether that's the next mystical experience, whether it's ayahuasca, whether it's, a specific type of yoga, or it's Joe Dispenza, and then you've got the practice. But then how do you know if it's actually integrated? It's only when you get back in the mundane, in the secular world, and you see, has that projection gone? Has that trigger transformed? Has my behaviour changed around that person? Can I see something different in myself? Like, that's it, isn't it? And unless you've got the Sangha, you can't see. You don't know. And I think a lot of people play it safe. And I have done that. I've done that. But now I feel it's, for me, what you were just saying, like you've been feeling this for a couple of years, I have too. And a lot of people are talking about it now. Or the collective healing, serving the collective. Like, imagine evolution itself. I think it has made these evolutionary expressions and then realised it weren't quite evolving. That move weren't good for survival. So then it kind of like just drops that plan and shifts and then does this like quantum leap over maybe one generation. And I think source expression, source consciousness, the intelligence of it all is at that point. And so that's why we're all going, oh, shit, need to stop that and coming together. Yeah, that's better. That's better for survival. And there's some of us who are on it and aware of it, and others who are yet to turn. And it's like Joanna Macy says, who does the work that reconnects, the great turning, she calls it, the great turning. So yeah, I feel like that's what we're feeling, that's
Mm-hmm.
what we're
Mm-hmm.
expressing because we are source and we are, reality at the same time, aren't we? That's the dance that we are as human. We're both things at the same time, aren't we? So yeah, that's what I feel it is. Just evolution. And we're just aware of
Mm-hmm.
it. Some people aren't. Yeah, so we're helping the rest of the system, the holarchy. We're helping the rest of the holarchy to evolve by leaning in and exploring and mapping these new templates. Like, because, I mean, this might be a bit of a side line, but if we're bringing intensive mothering, right, that's in the book, this model of intensive mothering that's also embroiled into spiritual but not religious demographics now, where we've taken it on as this thing that if you're a spiritual mother, you need to breastfeed until your kid's ready, like which could be 7. You also need to co-sleep, touching them all the time. You only can feed them organic food all the time. You can never let them watch a screen. Like, organic material, organic nappies, eco-sensitive this, so to live like that, you need to be really wealthy financially for a start, and you need a lot of help as well. And so, but we've taken it on because there's some rich, white, privileged women who've gone over to indigenous communities, seen tribal models of mothering, come back singing its praises, but not remembered that there is no tribe in the Western society around the mother, and that we've still not got that. Like intensive mothering models in the West, like maybe we're so individualized we can't even realize that that model was in a tribe, and this isn't a tribe. Like maybe we're that culturally blind, culturally acculturated to individualism, you know. Anyway, so that's a bugbear of mine. This thing about intensive mothering and how, how does it look now? So I want to go sovereign, organic mothering for the current cultural age, which also includes the issues that we're facing. And one of those issues is we can't actually do it exactly the way we want to do it because the system isn't there yet. So part of being sovereign is getting good with that and going on a process. Sometimes you have to go into grief. Sometimes you have to rage it out because it's not fair that I'm aware of this and I know what it should feel like, what I want it to feel like. It'd be so beautiful. Like, I'm ready for the new earth now. But, like, it's not there yet. So, a part of the sovereign mothering, it's not that it looks amazing and it's all, this template that we want. I think that's going to be another couple of generations. Sovereign mothering for me is working towards that, committing your mothering and your child's development as an act of spiritual activism for the next generation and the next generation, because it's 7 generations on, isn't it? So that's a part of it for me. Like, and also the sovereignty is being aware of these narratives and looking all the time, checking, am I really expressing how I want to? And that's right for me and my child and our situation? Or is there something else here? Is there some shame driving it? Is there some narrative driving it? Is there some guilt driving it? Is there some, aspect of my shadow that's driving this? So that's the sovereignty for me. It's like, owning all of this stuff in the soup of it
Mm.
within this current
So,
cultural situation.
so correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, two kind of points draw out from this is first proper contextualizing of motherhood as a spiritual activism and the spiritual initiation, and also, like you said, the soup of it, realizing and kind of honoring the messiness of it, the messiness of life, the messiness of development, the messiness of, transformation, which is also a word that I'm starting to feel sick towards, having now
Messiness
been
or
in
transformation.
transformation.
All right.
In the sense that, I mean, it's a beautiful idea, but again, in this Western individualized spirituality, us chasing this kind of transformation. When I've studied indigenous philosophies or tradition, transformation is, and as is spirituality, is just part of life. It's the way we live. It's the attention we give to every moment, and the presence we bring into our life and challenges and the changes. So in that sense, I think I wrote a little piece for in my school about it too, is that transformation, we are constantly transforming, we are constantly changing. Life is constantly giving us new challenges and new stages in life to adapt to. We are constantly adapting to the new and the new problems that face us. There is always transformation happening. I think so instead of chasing in spirituality this transformation, instead we need to look at what is, hindering us, what is stopping us from changing, from adapting to the new, challenges that life gives us. What is keeping us stuck in certain, paradigms or views, or what is, keeping us in unhealthy, patterns of behavior or thought, or like you're saying about matrescence, we could take this as a kind of a, I don't know, responsibility or role or job even, being a mother, instead of seeing this as a initiatory journey into our, not mine, but as women into true womanhood or into sovereignty or creatorship. So some resonance with you over there, over these points.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, when you said, just to, I know you don't mean this, but I just want to say, if there is anyone that's listening, this journey into true womanhood through matrescence, because there's stigma around women who don't have babies, who don't have children. There is a stigma around that they're not real women. And I know you don't think that. I know you just said that phrase, but just in case there are people that are listening, because matrescence is one timeline that a woman might choose. One timeline, one initiation to allow your body, if you conceive like that, to allow your body to be the home of the incubation of a soul, consciousness, to then become life on earth, a human. So to do that, to offer yourself for that, I think women do so unconsciously. They don't realise that's what they're doing. We say, "Oh, I want to have a baby. I want to have a baby," but we also have no idea of the reality of what matrescence is like, how hard mothering is, how overwhelmingly, perpetually torturous mother work is, and we have no idea about the institution of motherhood. We have no idea of any of these things. So a lot of women choose to be mothers blindly, actually, and they might not tell you, but they regret it. You get good with the situation, and you can't ever give them back, and you don't want to give them back, and it is worth it. But it's not like the epitome of being a woman. Definitely not. I find as a woman, I need a lot of space to be a woman away from being a mother, because motherhood, matrescence, mothering, mother work, it all gets in the way of my expression as a spiritual woman. And for me, like, judge me if you want, I've had this coaching session once where it was like top three values, and number one was my sole purpose on earth. It wasn't Frankel, my son. My number one value is my sole purpose on earth. Through my orientation, matrescence has been a choice that my soul made in this life to do because of everything that's coming out of it, right? I'm serving a lot through my journey of matrescence. It's becoming so much through my research and through my professional work, and so it's a great honour to have become a mother at this time and to have gone through all of that and to be becoming Dr. Rainbow Goddess now, to map all of this and to go on more crusades to change the landscape for matrescence. But I have some incredible friends who I look up to, who've done great work, who are incredible women, and they've never had children. For example, my friend Kay Johnson, MBE, she got her MBE for work on food poverty and systemic, issues around food. And she's done so much work. She got £500,000 off the National Lottery. She birthed a community cafe. She birthed a training system for people who were on the dole who wanted to get food hygiene certificates and do NVQs and 1 and 2s in food hygiene. She would employ volunteers that were refugees that didn't speak English and help them speak English. She bought eggs off a local young adolescent who was autistic and who went round on his bike round all the farms getting eggs, and then he'd come and sell them, so she'd buy him at a premium. And she bought bread off a local baker who baked from his garage because he stayed at home looking after his disabled daughter. So, women birth much more than children, and they bring something else in participation with the sacred to the earth, just like men and just like children. We all bring and birth things. And I'm just about to do a podcast with her about this stigma around childless women. And so it's up in the field for me. So I just thought, as we're speaking about motherhood, we don't, just being sensitive to that in the field, because it's up for me at the minute, and we just said it, and I just wanted to say that, yeah, like, being a mother doesn't make you a real woman. It makes you a stressed out woman who ages 10 years in a year. Well, it's also this mad initiation process that can put you on a timeline of great spiritual evolution. And yeah, but it's just one path of many for women at this time. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I just wanted to, drive the point again that it's proper contextualization that's missing for many people, especially single mothers or single parents. I guess that's kind of what spirituality also is, or is supposed to be. When we talk about meaning, when we talk about resourcing, and even when we talk about community, is also putting yourself in relationships in a community, instead of I'm part of this machine trying to survive, and where my value is determined by the machine of the value that I produce for that. But thank you, Rainbow, for drawing that out as well, because I guess it is a big topic, especially in our day and age, where many people are also, well, some consciously, some unconsciously, choosing not to have children for
Mm.
for good reasons.
Yeah, I was laughing about that actually, because if the powers that are currently in play making decisions for the collective, they shouldn't be there. We know that. This is just the cultural shit show playing itself out on the big picture screen, and it's hard to stay in that truth. Trust that there is a divine plan, that it's all a part of just a shadow pop in and burst in, and then we'll clean up the black jelly that's splattered on everything, and it'll all be all right. It's an hard time, isn't it, what we're going through at the moment? It's hard to stay rooted in it. But that context and community I do want to speak to. That's what happened for me. So remember at that point in the story where I'm in this flat and I've had this revelation, and then I'm going on this mission, and I'm thinking, who is responsible for me then? Like, after asking that question to the sky and feeling it and getting this revelation, right? Okay, so what kind of community then? Where do I find it? How do I make it? Because I need it. So how do I make it? So then it became this process of like trying to call in community. But I also went to some of these baby groups, and I realized there, like, that it wasn't just about putting myself around other people. That wasn't enough. To sit in the baby groups with the other mums, it wasn't enough, because they weren't matricentric, as in orientated around me and my needs. They were child centric. Now, I'm telling you, every child from 0 till 1 is pretty much all right if they've got the mother nearby in a breast. That's it. That's all they need. They don't really care about anything else. Give them a spoon to play with. Pantabang, 1 year. Joyful baby. Mama, breast, pan, spoon. Happy days. Mothers, through that first year of infancy, do need help. They go through so much. And then they go to these places. I went to one of them, right? And because it was kind of still in lockdown, but there was still everyone wanted the economy to still going, so they just made up really stupid rules just to basically make it so that people still keep going out spending money. Just a farce, wasn't it? Anyway, so they had these taped squares, metre wide, on the floor, and you could only sit in it with your baby, and that was it. And there was no introduction, there was no like, oh, let's say each other's names, nothing. It was just, you're in this like, what I'm telling you now, even if the tape wasn't there and it wasn't COVID, it would have still been like that because that's what it was. And a lot of them were like that. Like I went to another one that was run round the corner from here, and we sat in a singing circle singing, traditional conditioning, societally conditioning nursery rhymes from ages ago what aren't relevant anymore. Grand Old Duke of York, for example. Let's perpetuate war mentality. Let's talk about soldiers. Let's get them marching before they can even speak. Come on. So I said, I've rewritten the words to this song because I don't want to perpetuate this war mentality and don't think it's appropriate to sing about soldiers and armies with innocent little babies. So I sang the furries in the glen, the 10,000 of them. Every day they go up the hill and they come back down again. And when they go up they pray, and when they come down they sing. And when they're only halfway up, they laugh and play all day. Tumbleweeds. In the circle, tumbleweeds. And then she went, shall we sing the Grand Old Duke of York? No. I just thought, oh my God. Now I'm the weirdo as well as like feeling like I want to peel my skin off. And now I just have to go home with my kid in shell shock after that when I've got no help, feeling even more isolated, even more like a weirdo, even more in crisis. And then I thought, right, how can I empower myself in this moment? And I started doing restorative yoga teacher training. And that was when I started to rest, like actually rest in my nervous system. And within one moon, just one lunar cycle, all the hitting had gone. And there was this inner nurturer that stepped in. So I did that in a Sangha. It was an online portal, but sharing circles, doing the practices together, reflecting, relating, but also a container to say, just have a core listening space. How are you today? What's going on for you? So I'd got that vibrational resonant match, spiritual but not religious people in the container, in community, which wasn't about frying my nervous system, it was about resting my nervous system. And that was the missing piece in all the spiritual stuff. They don't tell you about that. They say, oh, go and do this breath work, go and do that mushroom ceremony, go and do this, blow your mind, 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 blow your mind. They don't say stop, rest. Just let that settle into your nervous system. And also, make sure you're talking to people around you about all these different things that are popping off and changing. And also, if you haven't got a polyphasic culture, as in a culture that believes in all of this, then it's not really safe. So make sure you get a psychedelic integration support worker or something like that. There isn't this out there, is there? It's just not there.
And we're back again.
So yeah, so that piece was missing, the rest. And then in that learning came this inner nurturer, this blissful current of assurance and trust. And then I believe I started to kind of mend my relationship with myself after that. And then I started to call in more aligned women, and that's when I did the village, and that was the mother and toddler group that was a shamanic, advertised as a shamanic mother and toddler group, because I knew I needed this spiritual sangha, but I also knew that I needed mothers that had this shared experience that could relate with me and be honest and authentic and tell me that they also felt like throwing the baby out of the window in the night, or they'd also felt really, really guilty for, giving the kid chicken nuggets and waffles because they couldn't be bothered making a vegetable curry with organic veg, that kind of thing. So then it was the communal aspect. And after I did that group, the women, because we had these shared values and we lived in the same locality because it was an in-person group, then we became a community and we started to do a forest school. We became really good friends, and then that kind of ended, and then the charity project, which was kind of keeping it all together. And then I've transitioned into this spiritual community that's near me. And now that's becoming intergenerational. And I keep showing up. So my mantra is weave in belonging, weave in belonging. And the weave in belonging is twofold. So I have to weave myself in to the tapestry of community by showing up, being authentic, being vulnerable, landing in the right spaces, being discerning, being brave, pushing through the social anxiety and going into these environments and sharing. because they're safe containers, because I've been discerning and I've found them. And then in that space, then you also then have to work to bring them back into the mundane. So you have to then invite the person that you met at the spiritual workshop for a cup of tea and then disclose some mundane stuff about your life. And that's the weaving belonging, the work that I do. But then I also have to welcome belonging as it's weaving to me. So if there's an opportunity to serve the community, I step in. But then it's also if the community is offering love, if one of the people give me a compliment, if they invite me, if something's going on, like it's feeling the community offering an invitation for belonging and me answering by stepping in, and then also welcoming the love and letting the love in. And on my
Mm.
birthday, actually, put a call out into our collective WhatsApp group and said, "Oh, do you know, I really fancy a massage this morning just to get this tension out of my shoulders for my concert tonight." Two of the elders from our community that, the grandparents, they've got the silver hair, they've got the camper van, and they were near me on the canal and they said, "I'll give you one." And I felt uncomfortable because I knew it were stepping in even more to real friendship, not just someone who I see at a spiritual centre, who I pretend to align with and then go home and have a meltdown and then come back next week and go, "Oh yeah, did an ayahuasca ceremony. I'm just so healed right now." Like showing up and going, "No, I feel like shit about this. I've been pushing you away. Your love is blinding, but I want it. And thank you. I'm stepping in." And there's mending, crying together by the side of the canal in this embrace. And it's just so beautiful what's happening. Like, I feel like having this community support, I'm not just sharing bits, I'm sharing myself. So I know that they know me. So they're really choosing the authentic version of me. But it's a big work, this weaving belonging, weaving belonging, weaving belonging. It's a big work. Yeah. So that's how I've gone from crisis, contextualization, community. And that's what healed everything really. The Sangha, but it's the quality. And that's what you'll read in my research if you read it. That's what I found when I interviewed spiritual but not religious single mothers. They couldn't just be around anyone and be themselves. They needed this resonance, this quality from this demographic that resonates, that's awakening, that values authenticity, that is doing shadow work, that does have this emotional and spiritual language and literature. And we meet in these spaces and we're trying to crack this narcissism, individualism within these spaces. And the model near me, through this Sunday service, what we've started modelling, where it's non-hierarchical, there's no one leading it, no one getting paid. It's like literally a Sunday gathering where we celebrate the sacred together, and each time somebody else comes up with a theme and we all support each other, and that has felt so authentic and so safe. And so there is a core group of us now that aren't just spiritual people doing spiritual work together, which is one of the things the mum said in my research, like they could go and do that if they had childcare, but they couldn't call these people up in their everyday life. They hadn't crossed the threshold. And so I have now, but it's through this weaving belonging, weaving belonging, weaving belonging. And it takes serenity to do that. Because you've also got to say, "I'm sorry, I was a bit harsh with you in my tone then," or I shouted at you then. Like me and this friend Ellen, she's a white dog and I'm a white dog in our mind cosmology. So we've got this loyalty in our spirits that have this resonance, which means we're more like sisters than friends. And there has been a bit of clunk. Like I shouted at her the other day, but it were like a sister. And then I had to really be apologetic in my humanity. And she's seen it. She's not rejecting me because I'm not spiritually perfect and just keep my stuff together all the time. I'm in my humanity and I'm owning it. And so we're feeling integrated. Like we've got the spirituality evolution side, the community going, but we're also still human. So it feels really grounded and integrated. Like I've never felt like I can be so much myself with my child present, expressing my beliefs all at the same time. So yeah. And now I've got women listening to my podcast and reading my book, and they're starting their own women's groups and saying, "This is a spiritual mother's circle. Proud as punch," because if they don't say that, then they're not going to get those women. So that's sovereign, weaving belonging and building the template that we want, being the change that we want. We have to activate it. We have to make the system and get good when it's not there, get good with the grief of it, but keep praying, keep following the longing. Don't give up. Practice resurrection. Forgive yourself when you lose it at your kid, and then just carry on. Yeah,
Yeah, and show
practice
up as you
repair.
are. Show up as you
Yeah,
are. Wounded, imperfect, irritable, tired.
because if you can't love yourself and accept yourself, how can you love and accept anybody else? Slight edit. just, what's her name? Mama, RuPaul. She said that. Look, you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love anybody else? But this is about acceptance as well, isn't it? With full sovereignty and full self-awareness. I'm not just loving myself egotistically. I'm accepting my humanity. I'm loving the trying, the effort, the integrity I'm trying to polish. And I'm also loving the bits that aren't right yet, that need loving, and loving the way we're all heading and accepting it all, yeah? And the same with everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love how we brought in, the mundane and the practical aspects. There are these ideals that we hold ourselves to and that we aspire to, but in parenthood, our kind of capabilities, our capacities really like drastically shortened. So in that sense, we also need to be real with, what is really present for us, what we really need, what are our needs right now, and to tie that into our spiritual aspirations. I think that's beautiful, and I think that's what makes it work, again, this vulnerability. And I think also another solution from kind of offered in your book is these co-facilitated childcare, finding help from others, doing childcare in a communal setting. For our parenthood process, it's just invaluable to even have a friend over, to have someone to, take care of Rui for a couple of minutes, or to cook together, or to do anything together. Like, doesn't have to be a special thing, can be the most mundane of things, but it becomes very special when it's communal, and when this kind of burden or weight is shared for a moment, that it's just so appreciated. And then I imagine if you bring more children together, more parents together, I really started to like this idea of, cooking together, making a big pot, a big stew together, and really, sharing, gathering around the pot and sharing the journey, and the challenges, and the pains, and the difficulties, as well as, of course, the serene and these moments of grace.
Reminds me of being in TP Valley when we go and stay with my friend Kate. She did a podcast on mine as well called From Walls to the Wild. And she went and moved in a 16-foot yurt in the middle of a wild Welsh valley with no electric, no plumbing, no heating, with a 3-year-old. She's been there 2 years. When we go there, we're all in one room, moving together, sleeping together, cooking together, and the kids just come alive. Like Franklin's like, yep, yep, task, task, task. It is like what Michaela de Clef describes in Hunt Gather Parent, when she, shows us how the Namibian people live, like this idealistic part of it, where the children are just conditioned to be cooperative. They don't need all this like child centric buffering them up. Oh, you're such a good boy for helping mummy. They're just socially compliant because it's the right thing to do. They're given these communal environments when we get together, like what you've just described. For me, is modeling that what we're trying to achieve. It's putting a template in. It's cooperative, isn't it? It's not altruistic behavior in a sense. It's just cooperative, empathy, everyone being in it, everyone's age groups all at the same time, seeing all the different faces of the humans all at the same time, and compare that to the traditional Western nuclear family model now. The kids go and get dropped off with strangers for longer than the parents are at work. They're all with strangers, and the parents don't really know what's gone on for the kids that day. The babies or the toddlers can't voice it when they get home. They spend a few hours, bedtime, everyone's too knackered. Weekends, maybe do something special, and then back again. All for what? To pay for all of the house and all of the this and all of the that, that's just killing the earth anyway. But they're stuck in modernity because modernity needs healing in order to let go of all these things that we've built around ourselves. Like, it's so difficult. So this actually brings me back to that point I forgot before when I was saying, it's going to have to make a big mess when it goes like the shadow of it's playing out. But what's going on in our paradigm, our current cultural generation, we're in the middle of the paradigm shift. So it is messy. Our parenting is going to be messy. Our kids' development is going to be messy. But we're the paradigm shifting generation. They're going to be able to model that template in themselves before they're parents. We're learning it as we're being parents. We're reframing it from what our parents did to us. Like from my generation, it was stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. I remember hitting children being made illegal in my lifetime. I'm 42, so I remember that on the news. We're making it illegal now. You can't hit children anymore. I remember, you know, growing up around these and what it's done to me as a woman. And I know that I've rewritten that for Frankel. So we're all chain breakers, but because we're also individualized and the tools and mechanisms and frameworks like aren't really fully right yet. We've got psychotherapy here and got transpersonal psychology here, and we're doing this spiritual stuff and we don't really know, and it's all a bit gnarly, but we're doing something good. Something is changing. We are becoming a bit more of a majority now, spiritual but not religious people. And I think the scales are tipping. It is the golden age. It is the age of prophecy, but we've not landed in it. So it's like, yeah, like we're in the birth canal. So it's
Mm.
okay. It's supposed to be messy. And we need to learn it. And like I was praying, watching Moana with Frankel. Oh my gosh, them films are such a deep initiation. She's a way shower. She has to find the way and show the way. That's what we're trying to do now, our generation, right? But there's this masculine archetype that gets really cross with her and then abandons her. And then the grandmother archetype comes that says the same thing, but does it nurturingly and with grace in an empowering way. And this is how we're trying to flip the collective, right? Not just men and women, but how we all are with each other. So I was praying the other day after I got angry at Frank Cole and saying to him, I'm so sorry. I just really want to be like the grandmother of Moana all the time. And then I did journey with the grandmothers and said, please help me be like you. And they went, what? You can't be a granny. You're not a grandmother yet. You've got to be old and wise and live. You've got to be a crone. You're still menstruating for a start. You've not fully ripened as a mother. You know, you can't be a grandmother. There's no way. It's too much. Don't put them expectations on yourself. Be a mother. Be a learner. Be a grower. Be a trier. Be a striver. Be a fighter. Be a lover. You know, be someone that accepts and celebrates yourself with radical love and acceptance because you've been through so much, darling, and now it's your time. Just give yourself an easier break. You know, don't worry. Don't worry too much about it all. It's all okay. All is as it's meant to be. So if we can really, you know, if you've got that, if you develop that self-awareness enough to know that you're doing things in integrity, that's enough, isn't it? And trust that our narrative, what we're saying, the philosophy, the things that we're channeling, bringing through is the right thing for our children to hear and keep following that intuition. Like I'm taking my kid out of school, Western school, is going to go in one that suits our model. We're building a school together on the land. You know, these little things, just follow it, follow it, follow it, follow it. And we're weaving it all together. Yeah. But don't worry too much about it looking perfect because it'll be a next couple of lifetimes, I think, before we really see the golden age. Yeah, so it's about the work. It's about the work now, isn't it? And trying to have some fun around it because it's a bit serious. Trying to have some fun, do a bit of nesting, do a bit of resting, you know, go and get a break from it all. Be in really good communities, good spaces in summer on the land, and turn your phone off for a week and stuff like that. Put your grass on the feet. I mean, your feet on the grass. Yeah, talk to the mother. Talk to the mother. Call it all in, all this support around you. Dream in what your community looks like and make big prayers and then weave belonging. If you see any signs of it trying to weave back, hook on, connect and go for it and show up, be yourself. Because if they fall away, they were never right for you in the first place. And the quicker you get rid of them, the sooner the good ones are going to come.
Well, this is a nice place to wrap up. If there's maybe one kind of singular point from your book, or just to maybe tease your book, what would you like to kind of maybe ingrain or part to women and mothers who are listening to this podcast, perhaps parents as well?
Yeah, I think, you know, the narrative about parents and mothers, some parts of it are similar, but because mothers have a female body, they deal with things that men don't deal with. So this is written for mothers, specifically spiritually orientated mothers. And it's, you know, where you get these parenting books that are giving you more stuff to do so that you're a better parent. It's not one of them. This is like giving you the revelation about these cultural myths so you know that it's not you, and so you can be discerning. And then it helps you to see some other myths within the spiritual but not religious demographic that I've identified to give you a starter. to start to see what myths you're bound to within your communities. And then within each myth, it gives a practical tool, exercise, or a journal prompt where you can embed the truth and not the myth. So you're doing alchemy in the pages of this book. And then it's also got a 20-minute healing guided meditation journey with me, where you go to a sacred grove and receive healing from the grandmothers. And the book itself is only 30 pages, but it packs a punch. So you can do this work, over and over and over again. You could probably read the book one night in the bath and do the meditation one night in the bath with some candles and some salts, to really receive the healing transmission, because this isn't just a book, it's an experience, it's a healing experience, really. So yeah, this is for all mothers. And older women have got this book, read it, their kids have grown up now, but they've also been moved and healed because it caught some bits from the past, what they didn't know, because they didn't have the revelation. So no matter where you are on your matricentric journey, this is going to be helpful. And if you are interested in matricentric feminism and learning more about the academic side, I go into a bit of that as well. So it gives you some literature. And then I also do a chapter at the end on empowered mothering, which is this concept what we're talking about. But I use the term empowered mothering because Andrea O'Reilly developed this framework. It's an evolving theory. It's an evolving theory within matricentric feminism, where women who are having this revelation about the institution of motherhood are becoming awakened to it. So she has these concepts that empowered mothers are autonomous, they're showing agency in decision making, they're also being activist in raising the children with feminist views and awareness about culture, and they're driving it, with agency and power. But what matricentric feminism hasn't yet done is map spiritual but not religious mothers. And that's what I'm bridging in my PhD. I'm weaving together what matricentric feminism knows about mothering and bringing in this cultural category that's not been explored within that framework, but also giving them a voice within transpersonal psychology and bringing matricentric feminism into transpersonal psychology as well. So this chapter on empowered mothering speaks a bit to what Andrea O'Reilly says, but it also frames it for spiritual but not religious mothers that are orientated in this way. And I also give voice to mothers of different cultural heritage as well, because I think there's also this, Western centricism, white centricism in spiritual but not religious demographics, and this cultural appropriation. So that also needed naming. And Coco Oya, because she is a Black woman living in a Western culture, she felt a lot of neglect. In her endorsement of my book, she spoke to that. She appreciated that I called it out, and I asked, would you like me to say more about it? And she did. So I've honoured her and packed it out a little bit more just with that, so that we can all be fully aware, because feminism, it's been white centric and for Western women who were quite privileged. So in shaping matricentric feminism, it's important that we're really including all shapes, sizes, forms, and cultural heritages of mothers, whether they be white, black, queer, hetero, solo mums, donor mums, or adoptive mums, step mums. These narratives around matricense impact us all. And so as well, if men wanted to read the book to be more aware of what the partners might have gone through if they're in a heterosexual relationship, and then, anyone that knows a mother will benefit from reading this book. And if you're someone who's looking to have a family in the future and you're a man, you want to be a good dad, then it's, good to be aware of this stuff as well. So yeah, it's for everyone, targeted at mothers, but it's for everyone. It'll do everyone a favour if they'll read it. Yeah. Thank you.
And pocket sized, like you mentioned. You can actually fit that into your very busy and filled schedule as a good mother. Thank you, Rainbow, for birthing and sharing that work and living that mission, living that ethos. And also thank you for sharing your time with me. And I hope we get to have another session on this book or your next one, and do that soon.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been such a pleasure. I love being in this space with you, Remo. I really do. I think you have a great way of interviewing as well. Very gracious and safe. masculine presence. So really appreciate you and honouring you as a father and blessing your family. Yeah, blessing your family. And if anyone wants to buy the book, it's only
Mm.
£10 and it's an ebook. So you literally just get in touch with me. I'll give you my bank details, send me the money, no middleman, so I don't have to pay anyone any commissions. And then I'll email you the PDF for you to keep with the download of the meditation as well. Yeah.
Yes, I celebrate you, Rainbow.
Thank you, Remo. You too. Thanks for doing this podcast and for all that you are. Shall we tell the listeners about the symposium?
Ooh, indeed. So we have been talking about an aspect of the, I would say, the new paradigm that is arriving and gently and slowly but surely anchoring on this planet. So this year, and of course, Rainbow can tell you even more about it because she's generously taken the lead. The main motor of this year's symposium, our annual symposium that we hold in July this year, is on the new Earth. Do you want to tell a bit more about it, Rainbow?
Yeah, I'd love to. So basically, we've invited submissions from people who are seeding the new earth. And this is academics like myself and Remo, who are working in the field of transpersonal psychology, and methodologies and systems to try and bring in this new earth paradigm. And then we've also got submissions from incredible workshop leaders who are real pioneers in their field. And we've also got some incredible speakers for a psychedelics panel. We've got Dr. David Luke, who's our keynote speaker, and then we've got some representatives from the Chacruna Institute, from Alalaho, and from We Are the Medicine. And these are three organisations that are doing activism and working in psychedelic therapy and also working to honour the rights of Indigenous lineages and really bringing right relationship around these psychedelic medicines. So they're going to be our psychedelics panel guests. And then we've also got some incredible people doing some talks. My friend, for example, like I just mentioned, Kay Johnson MBE, who did her work on sustainable food. She's going to give us a talk about the model that she developed. So we're really looking for the whole symposium this year, not just to be another conference of amazing things, but to be a piece of spiritual activism in itself is going to be transformative. And my teacher, Padma Candro Victoria Sinclair, author of Daikini Weaving, Keys to the Golden Age, is going to lead us in a tribal council where we bring in these grandmother energies to have this like telepathic resonance, to offer a ceremony to seed in this new earth template. So, and we've also got Piers Cross, who has co-founded, co-directed, co-created the documentary Broadening on Insanity, which features Dr. Gabor Mate. He's going to be doing a talk and showing us the trailer, and we're going to have a Q&A with him. And this is all about how boarding school traumatizes young people that then become our world leaders, and looking at that mismatch where we've got world leaders that aren't doing any work, that are traumatized, that are so wounded that have got these nuclear weapons at hand. They're playing out these ego, aspects. So he's come in. So we've got this incredible lineup this year of really amazing people, and our NPNs are going to be sharing about our research and doing talks as well, and just walking side by side with these system changers, because that's what we are. We are that, the NPNs, and our motto, isn't it? Our song is that we want to be this mycelium hub, a mycelium hub. So I feel more than ever this year, this symposium has gridded that in, because we offered ourselves, and we've been like the academic SMN environment before, catchment from here and there, but it feels like strong. We've got some real already system changers in, and it's going to be good. It's going to be amazing. So yeah, and it's cheap. Tickets are only 33, 22, or 11, depending on what you can afford. And that's for the whole weekend. And you'll get all of the recordings that are made. And on the Saturday evening, we're going to do a sacred open mic. So I'll lead us in some prayer songs around the proverbial fire. And then we can all have some time just appreciating each other's creativity and expression, and offer it to the sacred. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
27th of July, people. 26th and 27th of July. And tickets are on sale on our website. newparadigmnavigators.community.
I'm so excited for it, and it really feels like the real work of the cutting edge of evolution.
It is. It like literally is. I haven't seen anything else that's like this with the breadth of stuff that we're offering as well. Like we've even got a woman, Andrea Clark from Womb Medicine. She's this incredible elder, and I've asked her to come and speak to the collective about womb consciousness. So we're transcending womb wisdom in a women's space. We're bringing her as an elder to speak to us all about the importance of cultivating menstrual consciousness as a collective. So what about that? We've gone from talking about menstrual shame with women to actually teaching the collective about menstrual consciousness just in a matter of a couple of years.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
So, excited to see you there.
Me too.
Excited to have you join us, the listeners, and Godspeed to New Paradigm. Good luck navigating.
Yeah. Come on, all you new paradigm navigators. Let's navigate it together. Let's be it. Let's be the new paradigm.
Much love.